When it comes to the MCU, pretty much everyone can simultaneously agree that Phase 3 is the best and most consistent phase in the MCU, and is the best that Marvel has ever been. This could be due to the fact that it does have 5 more movies than normal, having 11 movies compared to the usual, which is usually 6 or 7, but the fact that it still manages to be the most consistent phase is really impressive. We all know where we were when Cap said Avengers Assemble, and we all know where we were when that first trailer for Infinity War came out. I mean, this phase had the entire world obsessed with Marvel for an entire year. Phase 3 is easily the best and most iconic phase in the MCU, and just listen to this lineup. Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home. There are only 2 movies in that list I would say I don't like, showing just how peak this phase is. This is going to be a long one, so let's not waste too much time and jump into my ranking of Phase 3 of the MCU. Boo! Editor me here again, and I just want to say once again, thanks for the support of my videos recently. It really means a lot to me. But I do want to say that only 1% of you guys that watch the videos were subscribed. So, if you could take 2 seconds and click the subscribe button right now, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
When it comes to Phase 3, there's one movie that is pretty unanimously agreed upon to be the worst in the phase, and that is no one's favourite, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of Phase 3, man. The worst it got before was just kinda mid, but this one's a really bizarre big dip in quality compared to the rest of the phase. The movie just kinda throws a lot of stuff at you, and a lot of it goes unexplained, and the acting is questionable at points. It also retcons a few things it doesn't really need to, and it also does a lot of unnecessary changes to the original story, like having the Skrulls be good guys and not evil, which I don't hate near as much as the Iron Man 3 twist, but that's not saying much considering they were not really interesting before the twist, and after the twist they were still uninteresting. At least before they had cool villain powers, but when they turned good, they used them like 1 or 2 times and it's kinda dumb. However, when I was watching this, when the twist got revealed, I realised something. This movie is just a much worse version of Iron Man 3. You might be thinking to yourself, what do you mean they're the same? But just hear me out. Exhibit A. In Captain Marvel, we see Carol dealing with her flashbacks from her past and her deadly plane crash she had. Sound familiar? Iron Man 3. Tony is dealing with his flashbacks and his PTSD with the New York incident. Except it's done much better in Iron Man 3 in my opinion. Exhibit B. The first half of the movie, we're dealing with someone we think is the main villain and is actually the main villain in the comics. And we're trying to get help. But it turns out halfway through the movie, the person who we think is the villain is actually not the villain, and there's another guy who manipulated our main character into thinking someone else was the villain, and it also turns out to be a much worse villain than the original one.
Coincidence? I think not!
As you can see, Captain Marvel is just a much worse Iron Man 3, it's got a really mid first half and a really bad second half. Although the second half of Iron Man 3 might actually be a bit worse. I don't want to spend too much time on these as there's a lot of movies to talk about here, but my overall thoughts are, it's just Iron Man 3 again but with a worse first half, and it's probably a bottom 3 MCU movie for me, although I've not seen all of Phase 4 and 5 yet, so don't quote me on that. So yeah, bad movie, don't watch it, end of.
Paul George, listen to me when I say this. You are trash.
Now, I originally had this film in last place, and it was my least favourite MCU movie for years, but I rewatched it recently, and Ant-Man and the Wasp is nowhere near as bad as the likes of Captain Marvel, Iron Man 3, or Thor the Dark World and stuff like that. But what it is just painfully mid. I think the main problem with this film is similar to what Soup said in the Escape podcast. That the whole movie is just a game of tag between Scott, Hope and Pym, Ghost, and these random gangsters who are just here for the vibes, I guess. It is a really boring plot, and it is what really makes this movie really mid for me. And I also think the story of Pym trying to get his wife back is kinda dumb. Like, in Endgame, it is said that time moves slower in the quantum realm, so why does Pym's wife look the same age as him? It would have only been like 2 or 3 days for her, no? But anyway, other than that inconsistency, I think the main thing that saves this movie for me, from being a complete snooze fest, is there are some pretty funny jokes sprinkled here and there, and I do think Scott is easily the best character in these movies, and I do enjoy seeing him and his daughter on screen, and I wish I got more scenes of them two together. I thought the side plot with Scott's training was actually good enough, and I thought there was some really funny moments in there, but the one thing that was pretty bad about this movie is the villain. So, I definitely understand her motivation, but they could have made it more clear how desperate she is. Like, I don't know, have her hold her Pym at gunpoint, or threaten to kill someone, or do anything instead of just having the wife have powers now, and I guess just fix her or something. It just feels really anticlimactic for a villain, and the fact they just run away afterwards, and we don't hear from them once after this, is kinda dumb. Overall, this movie is just really mediocre, or mid at best. It's like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Not the worst, but it's still pretty bad.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Coming at number 9, I have the worst Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man Far From Home. I've talked about this before in my Spider-Man ranking video, so I'll keep this one brief. Spider-Man Far From Home is fine. That's it really. It's got a fine plot, fine characters, fine world building, fine story. Everything is just fine. I will say, the one major problem that I've mentioned in my Spider-Man ranking was the Iron Man glaze, and not only in this one, but another Spider-Man movie I'll soon be talking about, is insane. I understand that Peter is trying to cope with Tony's death, but that does not mean the movie has to beat you over the head with it. I hate how Peter is trying so hard to be the next Iron Man, and I hate that about Homecoming as well. It's debatably worse than Far From Home. Homecoming is all about him becoming his own hero, and the ending is really good. But Far From Home is that he's still glazing Iron Man, and it's at the ending of Homecoming never happened. I understand that he's grieving about his death, and he misses him, and he thinks he should live up to him. But that does not mean I have to it was a good decision, nor do I have to like the decision. I won't talk too much about this, but I do like Mysterio and I like all his scenes, and I think they look really, really good. But this is like the 4th or 5th villain that's just an Iron Man hater. I love Iron Man, but it's really annoying seeing all of Spider-Man's villains being motivated by Iron Man and not Spider-Man. It gets so repetitive and annoying, and what really sucks is Spider-Man's ones are better than Iron Man's actual villains. I suppose it's not a negative about this movie in particular. If anything, it's a positive, but it's still questionable. Overall, I'd say this movie is actually a good movie with cool visuals, but it does have some very glaring problems, and it's just not the best.
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is not quite as good as the original, but it's still a really enjoyable watch. I've heard some people on the internet, if you know you know, say it's the worst MCU movie, and that's just ridiculous to me. It's not the best thing ever, but it's certainly not as good as the first one. But there's 100% worse movies than it. I love a lot of things about this movie. I think everything with Quill and Ego is really compelling, and there's a lot of good moments with them. You have the scene with them playing catch and talking about Quill's mom, and the obvious.
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
And that segues well into another good thing about this film. I think the comedy lands really well for me. If you don't think the same, I do get it. There are a few too many Drax sex jokes in it, and they're funny at first, but does get old after the 4th or 5th time. However, that's about it for me. Everything else I think is really funny. I think the Rocket and Yondu side plot is actually really good, and it's not only compelling, but seeing the two of them bond is actually really funny. People like to say that Baby Groot is just product placement, but I don't think so. I think later on in the MCU he definitely does, like when he gets his own little spin-off show and it's clearly product placement, but in Guardians 2 it's nowhere near as bad as people say it is. I think the gag with him getting all the different objects is really funny, and I really do like it. And there are some misses here and there, like when they go light speed and start hallucinating. It's not the best, but nowhere near enough to make it the worst MCU movie. Hat guy! But anyway, overall, this movie is nowhere near as bad as some people say it is, and it's still really funny and compelling. Just not as really funny and compelling as the first Guardians, but it's still great nonetheless.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Next up at number 7, I have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a very solid movie and another very good origin story from the MCU. I don't really have too much to say about it, so I'm just going to yap about some things in it. I'll start with the man himself, Stephen Strange. I think his story is really good, being that he gets an injury in his hands forever, and he's a brain surgeon, so he can never do that again. And I think the scene where it happens is actually really good as well. So he finds out about someone who managed to fix their paralysis through learning to be a sorcerer, and he wants to try and do it too. It's a pretty simple and also very solid motivation for him. The plot is also pretty solid and simple. So basically, there are like 7 or 8 of these different temples to protect the world from Dormammu, and his goons are trying to destroy them all so he can come in and take over. I think the fights are really cool in the mirror dimension, and the CGI, especially compared to the second Doctor Strange, is really good. And the fight with our Dormammu at the end is really good as well. Strange realising the only way to beat him is to trap him in a time loop is a really clever way to beat a villain. Although Dormammu has absolutely zero personality, and he's just really just a powerful force of nature, does a perfectly serviceable job as an antagonist, even though he's not a really good character and has no sort of personality at all. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about this one. Everything in it is just really solid and worth the watch, and I don't really have much to say about it. Give it a watch if you haven't already, and I think you'll see what I mean when I say it's just really solid.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Just to show how great of a phase this is, number 6 and onwards in phase 3 is an 8 out of 10 or above. Now, now that I've said that, number 6, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. I've gone on record in the past in saying Homecoming is a great movie, but not a good Spider-Man movie. I've talked about that a lot on my Spider-Man ranking, and basically what I said is he does not feel like Spider-Man at all in the movie, and he's Iron Boy Jr. for 99% of the movie, and the action is really lame. But this time, I'll talk more about why the movie is really good in general, not so much about the negatives. So, I'll start with Peter himself. I think Peter is a really enjoyable protagonist, and I love Tom as Spider-Man. He's not as good as Andrew, and I think he was significantly better in Civil War, but he's still pretty good in this. I think he's definitely the best Peter Parker out of the 3 of them, and I love seeing him struggle to fit in and try to bag Liz. All of this is all very good and very Spider-Man. I just think he sucks a whole lot when he actually is Spider-Man, fails at everything, but that's the whole thing I won't get into. I spoke about that a lot in my Spider-Man ranking. Also, the Vulture is easily the best of the I hate Tony Stark and I want to ruin his legacy villains. It wasn't much of a competition. But he's amazing in this film. The twist that he's Liz's dad is a phenomenal scene, and you really feel the tension in it. And it's probably a top 5 most nerve-wracking scenes in the MCU for real. And the drive to the prom when he's interrogating Peter and he's getting so nervous, you really feel that. And the lighting turning green when he confronts him is genuinely amazing stuff. My only problem with him is that I wish his fight was cooler, and obviously the Iron Man motivation is kinda bad, but he's generally such a cool good character, it doesn't even matter, bro. Overall, I'm going to say this very slowly. Really, really good movie. But it's not a good Spider-Man movie in terms of being true to the character. Okay? Okay, we're good.
Because I liked Black Panther just as much as you did. I am not a racist. I actually never saw Black Panther.
Black Panther is epic. And no, I'm not just saying that so I don't get called racist. I think this movie gets some hate recently, and I'll never understand why. I think it's amazing and I give it like a 9.5 out of 10. The action's incredible and the emotional conflict between T'Challa and Killmonger is really strong. And I think everything in it is really great. It's a top 10 MCU movie for me. I don't really know how to say why, but I'll just say some of the best things about it. Killmonger is one of, if not the best MCU villains, for sure. He is such a badass in this in every scene, and he's so good. And I'm not gay, but... yeah, no, anyway, his motivation is perfectly reasonable too. He was growing up in the streets of America, which is the exact opposite of T'Challa, who's grown up around royalty and money and everything, who's the polar opposite of him. And that contrast between the two of them is really, really good. I think the idea of Killmonger's main motivation being race does work really well for the movie. I think a lot of movies can just force it upon you and jam it down your throat, but this movie does not do that near as much, because it works because Killmonger is a genuinely great character, great development and great motivation on top of that. Killmonger is the best part about the movie, but T'Challa is also amazing. The scene where he's like,
I never yielded! And as you can see, I am not dead!
is a top 5 most aura farm moments of all time. He has some phenomenal scenes in it. When he says,
You are wrong! All of you are wrong! To turn your backs on the rest of the world!
and defies his father, and it's a phenomenal scene, in my opinion. This movie is probably the best MCU soundtrack as well. I can't play it because of copyright, of course, but it's definitely the best of all the MCU movies. Overall, Black Panther is a really slept on MCU movie, and I don't hear people talking about how good it is. And if you think it's bad, I think you should rewatch it and think for yourself, because this one is actually really good and really underrated.
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them right now.
Really?
Okay, from here on out, all the movies from 4 to 1 on this list are 9 out of 10 or above, and are widely considered to be some of the best Marvel movies that have ever been made. And starting off, I have Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is one of these movies that almost everyone likes, no matter who you are, except for some people on the internet. The best thing about this movie is the extreme change they did to Thor, and making him way more interesting and fun compared to the absolute snooze fest of a character he was in the first Thor and Dark World. Honestly, Thor at this point in the MCU was so bad they had to change him up completely, and I'm all here for it. I love him and Hulk's banter in it, and it makes for some really funny moments, and it perfectly balances the comedy and serious moments really well. Unlike another Thor movie, it doesn't quite get that. It's also really funny that the movie that Asgard gets destroyed and they're barely there is the best Thor movie. That really is a testament to how boring and bad of a location Asgard really is. I've talked about my dislike for Asgard twice before, so just know I really hate it. The characters in Ragnarok are also way better than the first two Thor movies. Valkyrie is a welcome addition to the main cast, and I really like hearing her past with Hela and everything. She also has some very good funny moments in it, and I enjoy every single time she's on the screen. Also, Korg is the fucking GOAT, and he's fucking hilarious, and I love him. I also love how we go to Earth one time and never talk about any of the first two Thor movies. You can literally skip them and jump straight to Ragnarok and you miss nothing. I only think there's only one or two negatives about it, and one of them being Hela. Hela functions as a very powerful evil villain, but she lacks a lot of character development in a sense. Her only personality trait is I want to rule the universe and I hate Odin. She's a mid-villain, but she does do her job in being a powerful force of nature. She just lacks a lot of character, but she does have some pretty cool scenes. This is also the start of the Hulk's downfall, where he starts to talk a lot more and form full sentences. This is probably the maximum I would go with him when it comes to talking, because he's still dumb a lot of the time, but I wouldn't go any further than this. Overall, Thor Ragnarok is a top 7 MCU movie, and I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, from here on out, the top 3 in Phase 3 are all 10 out of 10 movies, and I can see any of them being at the top of the list. So starting off the top 3, I have...
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Captain America Civil War is phenomenal. I don't think I need to talk about why this movie is so good, as pretty much everyone on the internet has said how good it is. We all know why this movie is good, and you've never seen anyone talk bad about it, for a good reason. I think the idea of taking the main character of the MCU up to that point and making him the primary antagonist is genius. Obviously, I'm Team Iron Man, and you're probably thinking, why would I be on Iron Man's side? He wants to control the government. He wants the government to control the Avengers. Well, let me explain. The reason why I'm on Team Iron Man is Spider-Man. And I rest my case. Okay, for real though, I do think Cap is correct for 99% of the movie for sure. I would not trust the government with something like the Avengers, and I do believe Cap is right in that regard. However, as soon as the clip of Bucky killing Tony's mum, and Cap says he knew the whole time, I am full Team Iron Man for the rest of the movie. Imagine this. Imagine that your two best friends are working together, and best friend 1 kills best friend 2's mum and doesn't tell best friend 2. And best friend 2 sees with his own eyes his mother being killed by the man he's standing right next to. If you seriously expect me to believe that you wouldn't do anything and just say, "Oh, it's fine, he was mind controlled, he didn't know what he was doing," you are insane. That scene where Cap says he didn't know what he was doing, and then Tony says,
I don't care. He killed my mom.
that is so good and such a powerful line. If you don't understand where I'm coming from here, I understand, but I believe that Tony is completely justified here. And I would honestly do the same thing. If I was standing next to the same guy who killed my mum, regardless of whether or not he was mind controlled or not, I would totally do the same thing that Tony did. Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, this movie is just incredible. The airport fight is the second best 40-minute sequence in the MCU. The Spider-Man alone is the best interpretation of Spider-Man has ever been. Like, when he says stuff like,
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude.
and also,
Hey, buddy, I think you lost this.
are some of the best Spider-Man moments ever. I can talk a lot about this one, but we'd be here all day, so I don't want to stay here too long. I'm just gonna say, it's a top 5 MCU movie for sure, and one of my most favourite movies of all time. And everything that people say about it is true. In conclusion, hashtag Team Iron Man.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Lemeth history, we have a two-way tie. Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War are both equally as amazing, and I can't decide for the life of me which one is better. I want to talk more about Endgame because I think it's the hotter take of the two, so I'll start with Infinity War and end with the Endgame. Avengers Infinity War is just hype all the way through it. You've probably heard everyone under the sun say it's the best MCU movie, and I completely understand why. Everything people say about it is true, and it's just awesome through and through. Everyone knows how good it is. Thanos is the GOAT of MCU villains, and he's top 3 for me for sure. He does not have one bad scene in either of these movies. I can talk about this all day, but I'm just gonna list some phenomenal things about the movie. Thanos is phenomenal. The pacing is amazing. The plot is great. The characters interacting is so awesome after 10 years of build-up. Tony is phenomenal. The trailer is the GOAT of all trailers. The cliffhanger at the end is perfect. Thor pulling up to Wakanda is the most awe-full scene in the MCU. Every joke hits, every emotional beat it hits, and that's only 10% of this movie's greatness. The only thing I would change about it is genuinely, if Hulk busted out of the Hulkbuster suit, it would be the single greatest movie of all time. I'm not joking. Infinity War is also extremely rewatchable and a fun time every time you watch it, and it never gets old. You've probably heard all this before, so I'm not going to ramble too long, but let's get into why I think Endgame is just as good. Now, Endgame in the first 2 hours is probably like an 8 out of 10. It's still great, but not as consistent and good as Infinity War, which is a 10 out of 10 all the way through it. However, this movie goes from an 8 out of 10 to an 18 out of 10 in the last hour. Before I talk about the obvious elephant in the room, let's talk about the first half first. Endgame is for sure the best time travel movie of all time. The time travel plotline, although some people think it's too long, I love every second of it. I think the conversation between Tony and his dad is the most underrated scene in the movie, and I damn near shed a tear every time I watch that scene. Every single person knows the quote, "No amount of money ever bought a second of time." It's a top 10 quote of all time for real. Also, every emotional beat and jokes hits, and the balances it perfectly. Okay, but that's not what y'all are here for. So let's talk about the really good stuff. The portal scene is peak cinema, and it will never happen again. Nothing will ever in cinema reach the high of On Your Left and all the portals of all the characters we've been watching for the past 10 years pulling up to like the biggest bad of all time. It'll never happen again. And for me, it was the best experience of my life. Dead ass. I've been hearing people say recently, oh, the movie's just a mess, it's got too many problems, it's just nostalgia, and the movie's not good, and it's only good for the last 40 minutes, and this and that, and for you people, I just do not care. This movie is the peak of the MCU, and cinema in general, to be honest, and it was my favourite movie for years. But don't make me choose. Like for the life of me, I cannot decide which one is better. So, overall, my final ranking is number 11, Captain Marvel. Number 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 9, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 7, Doctor Strange. Number 6, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 5, Black Panther. Number 4, Thor Ragnarok. Number 3, Captain America Civil War. And number 1 and number 2, because I cannot decide for the life of me which one is actually better, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. That's it. That's my final ranking. And I think we all know what I think of Phase 3 here. That is easily the best out of the five phases, considering that 3 of them are in my top 5 MCU movies. The 2016 to 2019 era of superhero movies was the best time of my life. Even better because my favourite movie of all time came out, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And the fact that we got Phase 3 in this time as well really just goes to show how cinema this era of filmmaking really was. And also, before you go, I'd really appreciate if you subscribed, as you clearly enjoyed the video if you made it to the end of it. So just take 2 seconds to click the subscribe button and press the bell so you're notified every single time I upload a video. Good night, New Yorkers.
Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so.